Hi class, happy Wednesday. I hope that you are having a good day. It is a little bit dreary outside today, a little bit different than we've had the past couple of days, so hopefully you enjoyed some of those sunny days since the rain is here today. So we're going to record today's life skills class, and today's class is actually going to be a help session. So if you get this recording and then want to pop in for some help on the assignments or any of the quizzes, feel free to do that today during our class time. So we'll go ahead and get started with class. This week you do have quiz 2.03 that is due, and then problem solving assignment, which we'll cover in today's recording. So after today, you'll be able to analyze some informational needs, some informational sources, and then work through some problem solving, the reason process. So the reason process that we'll look more in depth at and work through our assignment today is about recognizing practical problems that we face every day, how to evaluate the information coming at us, analyzing the different choices and consequences, selecting the best choice out of those, outlining a plan of action, and then noting our results and reflecting about like the choices that we made. So hopefully this will help us kind of in some of those big choices that we have to make in future in high school, maybe about like getting jobs or colleges, different things like that. Maybe just remembering back on your life skills class and laying out a plan and analyzing what might be some of the best choices in that. So maybe this will come to mind later in the future for some of those bigger decisions. All right, so information needs context. Once you have identified a problem, whether it's something that you go through on a daily basis or something that might be a bigger problem, whether you're going to decide whether to get something small like get a puppy or get a bunny or a guinea pig, or sometimes some of you face bigger problems about whether to have a baby or, go to college or not go to college or get a job, not get a job, buy a car, not buy a car, different things like that. A lot of different choices that you guys face as teenagers. So it is about getting facing a problem and then gathering information to solve your problem. You need factual information, and then you need information that has to do with your values. We talked about in our last unit about values and how that affects you. So it is about putting your values in with your facts. So all of that is putting it into context when you're solving problems. You need to identify the context of the situation. So is this situation, you don't want to make it a haste decision. You don't want to make it in, an emotional decision. You don't want to make it in a hurry. So you want to put it in context. And the context is taking the background, put it in what are the circumstances surrounding it, who's involved, what is the situation. Is it a new situation? Is it an old situation? Is it a recurring situation? All of those things, you need all of that information when putting in account you making a decision. What are your sources of information? What kind of sources and resources do you need for solving this problem? Is it something simple? Is it, can you just gather some quick information from your knowledge, your current knowledge? Are you going to have to dig deeper? Are you going to have to research some colleges? Are you going to have to research the states that you're wanting to go to? Are you going to have to research, how to take care of this animal? Are you going to have to research what kind of car that you need? Are you going to have to research what's the best car? What's the cheapest car? What's the most expensive car to fix? Are you going to have to research, how much a baby costs to raise? A lot of different things go into making decisions and what kind of resources you need to make these decisions. So all of the decisions that you have to make, you need to figure out what kind of sources that you need. So like for financial needs, you might use a bank or your parents because they've been through a lot of different financial ups, downs. Are they successful? Have they, made mistakes or good mistakes, bad mistakes? Friends, have your friends made good mistakes or poor mistakes? The internet, the Federal Trade Commission, government magazines like money magazines, Maybe not like Mad Magazine. That might not be a good magazine. We'll talk about that in a minute. So those might be financial things. Education, you might want to use your guidance counselor, teachers, parents, schools, all of those different things. Those are different sources of information. So we're going to talk about different sources, reliable sources, unreliable sources, but you do need sources of information. Sometimes it's hard when it's just you use just yourself and your own source of information. Go outside of yourself to search out information. Evaluate that information. Is my information reliable? Is the author of my information reliable? Is the author of my information reputable? Is this a person that I trust to give me that information? What are the credentials of this information? Is someone, giving me information about my car that has no idea about it? Like when you walk into Walmart and someone is trying to sell you something in the produce section, yet they, might work over in the automotive section, those different things like that. Or, do they know what they're talking about? So what are the credentials of the person? So reliable versus unreliable, what might you pick as a reliable source of information? Is this TV show like Dateline NBC a reliable source of information? Well, they might have some bits of reliable information, but they might not be giving you all of the information. Your neighbor, are they a good source of information? Did they actually see what happened? Did they hear about it from their neighbor who heard about it from their neighbor? What is a good, reliable source of information? 17 magazine, how reliable is that information? Your history textbook, pretty reliable source of information. A dictionary, pretty reliable source of information. The Columbus Dispatch might have some reliability, but maybe only might be telling parts of that. Your teacher, could be good, could be bad, source of information. So, you don't necessarily know all of the ins and outs of what your teacher, might be telling you. They might be an expert in one area, but maybe not an expert in another area. Your best friend, same thing. They might have a bias towards something. A blog, your brother or sister, all of those things. You have to be able to discern on your own what might be a good or poor source of information, reliable or unreliable. Okay, so let's talk about how do we do that. So what is distorted information? Distorted information might not truly or completely be representing the facts of reality. They might be misrepresented just a little bit. They might have a little bit of truth thrown in there and a little bit of like bias, falsity in there. So it might be distorted just a little bit. So the media sources like MTV, Dateline NBC, even the Columbus Dispatch, or evening news, they work for a profit, so they're going to provide factual information usually, but factual information that will interest you. So that's what they're selling. They're selling a news story, so it might be distorted just a little bit for that entertainment piece. Biased information, it might be unfairly prejudiced for or against someone or something. So it might be biased on one aspect for a certain purpose. So an example of bias is when someone gives you information or advice or feels a certain way based on their own experiences. So I might have been really burnt by this person who sold me this car. So I might give you my biased opinion about that car salesman because of what happened to me. So that's going to be a biased opinion. So you have to be aware of that as well and take it sometimes with a grain of salt. All right, stereotypes. So this is a widely held image or idea of a particular type of person or thing that's oversimplified. So sometimes, the big one is like all policemen eat donuts and, hang out on the street corner eating donuts for breakfast. So, or all skateboarders, do graffiti. All of those things might be like stereotypes. So in your mind what a stereotype is and what comes to mind for certain things. So we have to be aware of stereotyping for the first thing that comes to your mind on certain things. So manipulation or misuse of information. So some people use manipulation or find that some sources of information have been totally manipulated, or the misuse of information just to suit their purposes. So I think that you have to be aware of that too when you're looking to find a good source of information when you're trying to solve a problem. All right, so what is a vested interest? And I thought that sometimes the Chick-fil-A commercial just keeps coming to my mind because they have a vested interest. Those cows want you to eat chicken because they want to save their lives. So they have a vested interest in this. So a salesperson also has a vested interest in giving you information because they're trying to sell you something. They have a reason for wanting to give you that information because so like when you go to Best Buy, they all have a vested interest in you buying their product because they get a commission on that. I'm assuming that they do. So, so they have a vested interest in you buying that. So they wouldn't want to go out and give you a negative review or about a product that that you're receiving from them. So, vested interest. All right. So we know all about the factual information and what is value information. How important is it to you? So also we've learned about how to determine what is factual, what is not so factual, but what about value? What does it mean to you? So when you are deciding about college or deciding about a puppy or deciding about whether to do something or not to do something, what does it mean to you? So you have to take that into consideration as well. So not just the facts, also put in your heart into it too. What does it mean to you? Does this have something to do with your integrity? Does this have something to do with your responsibility or empathy? What does it mean? Is it going to hurt someone else? You have to weigh both of those things. It can't just be a head decision. It also sometimes has to be a heart decision. And then on the vice versa, it can't always be a heart decision. It has to be a head decision too. So those kind of have to go hand in hand when you're making it decisions. So kind of have to think about both of those. All right, so once you have all of your information, you're ready to solve your problem. So you're ready to work through your reasoning process. So you recognize the problem, you're evaluating your information, you're analyzing your choices and your consequences, because every time you make a choice, there's always a consequence. And then you're selecting your best choice, you're outlining your plan of action, and then you're noting your results. So this is where it comes to our assignment. So go to your content, and then you're going to go to 2.04 for solving problems, Unit 2, problem solving project, and then in the directions it says choose a problem that you have faced and answer the following questions. You're going to do this in complete sentences, okay? So a problem that you have faced, it doesn't have to be a super in-depth personal problem if you don't want to share that, although it doesn't go any farther than us, but it can be a simple problem, but all of you have at least one time or another had to think through a problem that you faced. So you're going to look at that and you're going to look at the reason process, and then you're going to look through this. Let's work through your assignment. A problem that you have faced where you've had to make a decision, whether it is buying a puppy or something really intense where, have I had to change schools? All of you have had to decide, at one time or another, maybe more recent than others, about, whether I'm going to go to school online or not. What decision have you had to make? What information did you gather? What sources did you use? Was it reliable? Did you ask your best friend, your parents? Did you look up information? Did you get your solution from a guidance counselor, a teacher? What choices did you consider? Did I decide, should I do it? Did I not do it? Was there a better option? Think through all of those things and then write in a complete sentence, that choice that you made. I don't want just one-word answers. I want it in complete sentences. And then what choice did you consider? Was it a good choice? Was it a bad choice? And what consequences? Was it what would be the consequences of my action? What choice did you decide on? What was your solution? What choice did you decide on? What was your plan of action? So outline what was your plan of action. And then note, reflect on your decision and what would you do differently next time. So tell me what you decided and what would you do differently next time. And then don't forget to save it to your computer. Click on the Dropbox, click on Unit 2 problem solving, and then add it to that file. Okay? And then remember, today's class is going to be a help session. So if you'd like to go over this in class, we can talk through it. We can decide on that. And then we'll have another help session next week as well if you want to go over that again. And you can always K-mail us, Mrs. Brackman or myself, if you have any specific questions that you'd like to ask us about and don't want to wait for either of those help sessions. So I hope you guys have a great day, stay dry, and we will see you next week.